This holiday, BMW has reunited 3 members of the family at the BMW Road Home Sales event. The Agile X3, engineered for any adventure. The plug-in hybrid X5, commanding the streets with unmatched presence. And the all-electric i4, charging into the future with impeccable performance. Hurry in to find what powers your journey at the BMW Road Home Sales event. BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Visit the Valley BMW Center today for attractive lease and finance offers.
Listen up, folks. Time could be running out to lock in a historic yield at Public.com. As of September 23rd, 2024, you can lock in a 6% or higher yield with a bond account. But here's the thing. The Federal Reserve just announced a big rate cut, and the plan is for more rate cuts this year and in 2025 as well. That's good news if you're looking to buy a home, but it might not be so good for the interest you earn on your cash. So, if you want to lock in a 6% or higher yield with a diversified portfolio of high yield and investment-grade bonds, you might want to act fast. The good news? It only takes a couple of minutes to sign up at Public.com. And once you lock in your yield, you can earn regular interest payments even as rates decline. Lock in a 6% or higher yield with a bond account at Public.com. But hurry, your yield is not locked in until you invest. Brought to you by Public Investing, member FINRA and SIPC. Yield to worst is not guaranteed. Not an investment recommendation. All investing involves risk. Visit Public.com/disclosures for more info.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Monday. Means we're brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos, and it's a bit of a short week. We got a day here, couple off in the middle, and we'll circle things back on the 26th of December. We're fired up. You're here with us. If you're in the office, that's okay. We'll get you to the finish line. If you're taking a week off and you're still hanging out, we appreciate that as well. We got plenty to do. 15 minutes, we will talk to Sharief, Ishaq, Saints, and Packers tonight from the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. It's going to be chilly. We'll talk to Sharief. LSU basketball was on the court yesterday. Got some thoughts on that. Glenn West, Go 24/7, going to be with us at the top of hour number 2. We're moving our Tuesday guests up to Monday today, and then Denton Day is always with us on Mondays. Going to join us at 2:30. We'll also talk about his Washington Commanders as they scored a big win over Philadelphia yesterday. Jaden was awesome once again, so we'll talk about all that over the next 2 hours. But we start the same way we start each and every day, and that's, of course, with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
All right, college football playoff. 12-team edition got started over the weekend, back on Friday night from South Bend, and then 3 more games on Saturday. And by now, you kind of know what the narrative is. And I understand. Kirk Herbstreit is going on game day. He's going on SportsCenter saying, hey, we need to quit worrying about Indiana won 11 games. We need to put the best teams in the field. And that sounds all well and good. And y'all heard me on Friday say I thought Indiana was a fraud. I don't think SMU's any good. I don't think Arizona State is any good. I don't think Boise is any good. That's my contention. And I know that there are plenty that disagree with that. Jacob Hester certainly being one. We've had our fun with that back and forth. And I hold those beliefs. But that doesn't mean that we just get to throw a bunch of teams in a bracket because they have a bunch of 4- and 5-star recruits and NFL players. I don't think, let me rephrase. I believe that the best teams are the teams that recruit the best players. But I still cannot sit here and reward Ole Miss for spending a bunch of money in the transfer portal and having a bunch of NFL players in the same season they lost to Kentucky. I cannot reward Alabama, who has got a ton of really good players and has got pros and has got 5-star recruits, when you lost to Vanderbilt and Oklahoma. I cannot reward South Carolina because they lost to Ole Miss and they lost to Alabama. They were crushed by Ole Miss. Yeah, you beat A&M. Yeah, you beat Clemson. But you've got some really ugly things on that resume. And at a certain point, you do have to take into account the results of games and not just the talent on the rosters. There's not an easy fix to this because there will be people on one side that say you have to reward conference champions, you have to reward teams that win games, and there are some on the other side that say we should try to find the best teams. But there's an issue here that you've got to make losses matter. I can put one in the rearview mirror, but you start to add up to 3 and 4 losses just because you play in the SEC or the Big Ten, and I have to penalize that. The fix is the good teams have to win their games. Ole Miss has to beat Kentucky. I can hand wipe a loss at Florida as long as you've crushed Georgia. But I can't just sit here and go, okay, it's December the 15th. Let's put this playoff together. Okay, these are all the guys with first and second round picks. We'll just go with them. I don't really care if you won or lost games. Because at that point, you've just devalued the entire 4 months. The issue with this year's playoffs was not that there were too many teams allowed in, was not strength of schedule, it was not the committee failing. The issue with this year's playoff is that some of the best teams in the country did not hold up their end of the bargain. I'm very confident that Ole Miss would have put up a better fight than SMU at Penn State. I'm very confident that South Carolina would have played Notre Dame more closely than Indiana. Those teams are better than the teams I'm talking about. But you can't throw up all over yourself from September through Thanksgiving. You can't. And Ole Miss did that. They gagged a 2-score lead in Tiger Stadium. They absolutely vomited against a Kentucky team that didn't beat anybody else in the league. And then they went to Florida and lost to a team that found itself late in the season. Just because they've got guys that are going to go to the pros doesn't mean that I can just, 3 losses, whatever, just put them in. The only team I can almost get to that point with is South Carolina because their losses are good and they have a couple of reasonable wins. But again, A&M lost 4 games. So how much credit am I going to give for that? And again, Clemson now has lost 4 games. They lost 3 in the regular season. So it's not like they have one like Ole Miss does where they just hammered Georgia. I think that the games would be more competitive if we followed Herb Street's methodology and just took the teams that we thought were the best at football. But I just don't think you can crown a champion that way, just completely disregarding who won and who lost. And look, this is coming from the guy who's got the elitist mentality that dismisses Indiana's entire resume. But I don't have a great team to plug in there. If Ole Miss goes 10-2, abso-freaking-lutely, they deserve to get in over 11-1 Indiana. Absolutely, I have no problem with that. It's when you start adding more losses and they're ugly. That's the problem. You need the SEC teams to hold up their end of the bargain. They didn't do it. So what did we see on the field? Well, we saw an Indiana team that got outclassed. And that was predictable, in my opinion. Notre Dame is bigger. They're more physical. They've got more 4 and 5-star recruits. They've got more NFL draft picks. They just imposed their will on Indiana. And you could see that coming. You look at Happy Valley and SMU, I just don't think has a good football team. I think that's why I said on Friday, I said, look, this Penn State thing where we talk about, they can never win the big game. That's always against a quality opponent. This was a big game. It was not against a quality opponent. And I would not have I didn't want SMU in with 2 losses, including their conference championship game. But again, you got to put somebody in there. I think probably the take that I had on Friday that I felt the best about after the results of the game had gone final was that the Tennessee-Ohio State game, in my opinion, was likely to come down to what Nico Iamaleava showed up. And the Nico Iamaleava that showed up was 14 of 31 for 104 yards. He needs a great defense to play great and a great running game to run the ball great for him to be successful. And Tennessee's defense had no answer for Ohio State, and their running game wasn't very good. Part of that, the majority of that, was because of the point of attack. Tennessee got whipped, and it doesn't help when the SEC Player of the Year goes out after 2 carries and 6 yards. Dylan Sampson's a big deal to that team. However, I don't think, having looked at that game, that Sampson was going to make a big difference because Ohio State just whipped him at the point of attack. And you got Travion Henderson ripping off long touchdown runs, Quinshon Judkins coming off the bench, 2 more touchdowns for him, and Ohio State's just a better team. And I think that if you're, there are kind of 2 sides of this coin. We'll just, to simplify things for y'all, we'll put it on the Hunt side of the coin and the Hester side of the coin. My side of the coin says all I care about is 4 and 5-star recruits, first-round picks. Those are the good teams. The teams that won some crappy conference, I don't believe are good. Hester would disagree with that, but that's the side that he's on. And Hester could come to me and go, well, you like Tennessee, and they got crushed too. And that is a reasonable point. I disagree a little bit because I think Ohio State is in a different class than Notre Dame and Penn State. I think that they're in a different class than those teams. Texas is probably there. And Clemson got destroyed as well. But I think that most teams are going to go to the shoe in December and get tuned up pretty good. Certainly Michigan did not. I get it. That's why we don't know the results before these games are played. But my entire thesis on this weekend that was in the college football playoff is not that the playoffs are broken, not that there's too many teams. You just, on a given year, I think you're going to have more teams get to that 10-2 mark in the power leagues as opposed to slipping to that 9-3 mark. And I think at that point, you've got a more competitive playoff. Look, the 4-team playoff had blowouts too. Every year, blowouts. So in a sport that has haves and have-nots, that's going to happen sometimes. But I don't think this is a quick fix, and I don't think that Herb Street is perfectly on the right track, and I don't think this system is perfect either. But it needs teams to hold up their end of the bargain. Beck, you watched a lot of football this weekend. You've heard me rant and rave about this whole thing. Your overarching themes on this situation.
Yeah, you were right this time, Hunt.
Love to hear that.
You're not always right. You have your moments, but this was a circumstance, except for the Tennessee and Ohio State game. But that I wouldn't even say that's that big of an indictment on the playoff or like the way that the teams were ranked because Ohio State had a good season. They didn't have a lot of impressive wins, but they were played very well the whole season. So
we know how good that roster is.
Yeah, we know how good they are. And we know how good. I thought Tennessee, I'm not going to lie. I didn't see Texas, and I thought Texas was going to win that game. I thought it was going to be a little bit closer. Of course, at the end, it got a little bit chippy.
I was impressed with Texas offense. Yeah. That's a question mark there. And maybe Ewers got 2 weeks off and was healthy. I don't know. But I knew Texas defense was good. I didn't know that they were going to score like they did on Clemson.
Yeah. But other than that, yeah, the SMU Penn State game was hilarious. Like
SMU stinks. They don't have any good players.
But it was so funny. Like they go down 14-0. Maybe it was 21-0 at this point.
Well, their quarterback just couldn't stop turning the ball.
No, he couldn't. And Penn State had the ball on their own 19-yard line and went for it on 4th down and didn't get it. Yeah. And SMU gets the ball in the red zone and they throw another interception. Like, it was just a comedy of errors for SMU. They had no chance in that game.
Sometimes Twitter gets really funny. When in that instance, everyone is watching the exact same game and everyone's having the exact same reaction to just a comedy of errors by SMU's offense.
And it's like in that situation, it's like, James Franklin, you idiot. What a terrible decision. You go for on your own 19 when you're up 3 scores. Like, why would you even give them a chance on the 19-yard line? And they just, nope, we actually don't want to score. We'll give it back to you an interception. So that was a tough one. But
SMU was good in the 80s. They're no longer good.
Yeah, but this was the first round was a good case study for your thoughts in terms of which teams shouldn't be in there, and which teams should be at least which teams shouldn't be in there. Like all the teams that you said shouldn't be in there so far, they proved they did not deserve to be in it. So,
but again, my point stands. I don't think you can just toss Alabama in there and just forget the fact that they played 2 atrocious Saturdays and lost an awful Oklahoma and Vanderbilt.
Let's not pretend that if Alabama gets in and they play Penn State or they go on the road to Ohio State, like let's not pretend that they couldn't lose by 3 touchdowns.
They could. They lost by 3 touchdowns in Norman, Oklahoma.
Yep.
To a team that couldn't move the football on anyone.
Yep.
So there it is. All right, let's talk some Saints. They play the Packers tonight. Sharief, Ishaq, WDSU is with us next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio, video, security solutions, AVSSLA.com is that website. Had the family over for Myra's birthday this weekend, and we just never turned Christmas music off all day long, all evening long. We were cooking, hanging out, just watching the kids play, and had awesome Christmas music going all the time through fantastic speakers that were installed by the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions. Check out their Instagram at AVSS_BR. You can see some great examples of some of the technology that they've got. They can certainly help you out with your home entertainment system. They can help you out with your security system. Whatever is electronically, Mitchell Fisher and his team can help you out with all of it. I give you Mitchell Fisher's cell phone number every single day on this show. It's great to know that you're dealing with the owner of the company when you make that phone call. It's 225-439-7920. Again, 225-439-7920. You can check them out online, avssla.com. It's Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
All right, our Monday show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com, GCOPnet.com. All your printing, scanning, copying be done Gulf Coast Office Products. Shout out to Trey Beal and his fantastic team. I tell you all the time about Gulf Coast Office Products and how they're not as...
Whatever the adventure, there's a BMW engineered to take it on. The X3 delivers a striking design with agile performance. The 100% electric i4 packed with pure electric energy. Or the plug-in hybrid X5, an impressive versatile SUV granting full control on every journey. Choose what powers your next adventure during the BMW Road Home Sales Event. BMW, the ultimate driving machine. Hurry in for exceptional offers through January 2nd. Visit BMWUSA.com for details.
Heads up, folks. Interest rates are falling. But as of September 23rd, 2024, you can still lock in a 6% or higher yield with a bond account at public.com. That's a pretty big deal, because when rates drop, so can the interest you earn on your cash. A bond account allows you to lock in a 6% or higher yield with a diversified portfolio of high yield and investment grade corporate bonds. So while other people are watching their returns shrink, you can sit back with regular interest payments. But you might want to act fast, because your yield is not locked in until you invest. The good news? It only takes a couple of minutes to sign up at public.com. Lock in a 6% or higher yield with a bond account, only at public.com. Brought to you by Public Investing, member FINRA and SIPC. Yield to worst is not guaranteed. Not an investment recommendation. All investing involves risk. Visit public.com/disclosures for more info.
They're a perfect mix between that mom and pop shop that is great customer service wise and maybe doesn't have the capabilities to handle everything that you need, and that big box store who doesn't know who you are and you're just a line item but has all the capabilities in the world. They've got $1 million of inventory right here on the ground in Baton Rouge. They've got a statewide team, tons of technicians as well. But you can pick up the phone and call Gulf Coast Office Products. You're going to get a friendly face and a friendly voice, and you're going to have fantastic customer service with the folks at Gulf Coast Office Products. So all your printing, scanning, copying needs, it's Gulf Coast Office Products, online at GCOPnet.com. Saints tonight are in Lambeau Field to take on the Green Bay Packers. It is going to be chilly up there at Lambeau, and the Saints have been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. So it's really just a situation here where you're getting another look at Spencer Rattler, some of these young players, in an iconic setting. And there's not really anything on the line for the Saints other than draft position and pride at this point. So we'll get a thought on this game tonight with Sharief Ishaq, who joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Of course, Sharief down there at WDSU in New Orleans. Sharief, how are we doing?
I'm doing great. I'm not in Lambeau Field where it's 25 degrees and snowing apparently. So I'm happy and grateful for that.
Yeah, that's just not. Well, I had a great time at Lambeau Field before the game started in September when LSU played. I don't have any interest at all in going up there for one of these December games when it's in the teens. That's a no-go for me. As I mentioned there, Saints mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. Do you want them to win, or do you need a better draft position?
No. No. I mean, look, it's sad to say that because these guys, like, man, they're playing for a spot on the team, and they really do play hard for Rizzy. That's one thing they've done, and I think that you want to, I guess, see what this team has moving forward after these last 3 games. Who you can count on, who you can depend on. I sound like a broken record, man. Like, can they count on Kendre Miller after this year? I'd love to see more from Kendre and stay healthy in these next 3 games, because I think he's going to get a majority of these runs and these carries until Kamara comes back. If he comes back, if he does, I'd be shocked it's not the last game. But you want to see these players, these young players, improve, because this franchise they need players in a very bad way. I mean, and it's not good right now. The books are bad, of course. That's always been the case, but you have to start finding these pieces if this thing ever needs to turn over, which needs to happen as soon as possible.
With Kendre Miller, Ross Jackson had a story for us at LouisianaSports.net where Dennis Allen basically put him on IR, even though Miller was just about ready to go, because I think they just got crossways with the injury history. How much blame do you put on Kendre Miller for his unavailability, and how much was just a bad situation that maybe he can shake out of?
A little bit of both. I mean, it was on him in training camp when we talked for the very first time. He got hurt 10 minutes into practice. Hurt his hamstring. Yeah, that's on him. I mean, he'd tell you that. He even said it before the season, or when the season ended last year, that hey, he has to do a better job of staying healthy, and it didn't come out healthy. But I think that last part was on Dennis Allen. I think it was one game. He should have never been put on IR again and missed 4 games. I think he was probably going to be ready after that one game. But he looks motivated, and man, the way he ran last 2 games, you're starting to see the flashes. You're starting to see the guy who they drafted, to help Alvin Kamara. So, yeah, I think the talent is there. It is there for him. I mean, that the guy can run between tackles. It's just, man, it's just unfortunate how that situation unfolded this year with he and Dennis Allen. I think, but I think he got put in a bad spot, and I think he should have been playing much quicker and much sooner instead of going on IR.
What's your anticipation for Spencer Rattler tonight?
That's a top 10 defense, and you're playing in some, I know it's probably not going to be snowing. It may not even be snowing, but that's cold. Cold is cold. Midwestern cold is different than your Southern cold. It's just they're used to it. They know how to play in it. I think I saw a stat that they've never lost a Monday Night Football game in December in Lambeau Field. So look, man, they got to come out fast. They can't turn the ball over. I mean, as cliche as it sounds, you can't have the start that they did last week with Jake Kaner. They need to have the start that they had with Spencer Rattler in the second half. And they just got to push forward, man. They just make something happen, because I don't know. I just don't know how, without all these weapons, they are going to penetrate a top 10 defense. I mean, that's the defense that's tough, and they're even more tough at home. So if you can get to 150 yards and a touchdown, it almost sounds like a victory for them. Not on the scoreboard, but in terms of pride.
I mean, this Packers defense statistically is very good as far as yards allowed and points allowed. They're not incredibly dynamic as far as the pass rush goes, as far as those advanced analytics with pass rush win weight and all that kind of stuff. They're not jaw dropping there. So you would think that the Saints could theoretically keep Rattler upright. It's just a matter of can they make some plays if they do against a good unit there in Green Bay. Last time the Saints saw Jordan Love, he had not really taken off yet. Saints still found a way to give that game away, but it's a different guy at this point in his career. What do you expect from the Saints defense tonight?
I mean, as crazy as it sounds, I know it was last year in September, but that felt like a get going game for Jordan Love, because ever since then, his trajectory has gone upward and upward each game. And man, look, he's dialed in. That's a guy you can kind of see he learned a lot from Aaron Rodgers in those 3 years. I think he's got the traits. He's got the way he rolls out and throws the ball. I mean, he doesn't really turn the ball over much. I mean, he's not necessarily in the top 10 of all those important categories, but he does a good job of not getting sacked. I mean, I think he might be the top in the NFL of all the every week starters of not getting sacked. I think he's only been sacked 11 times. So he does a good job of avoiding the blitz. He does a job of getting out of the blitz, and it takes care of the football. I mean, you have to disguise it. I mean, and if you get to him, you've got to bring him down. You miss him, it's going to be a long game. That's a guy you cannot let shake free, because he'll just keep his eyes down the field like he usually does as well, and release the ball down the field to Watson or one of his other receivers, because, I mean, that's not him, though, huh? I mean, Josh Jacobs is also there. That's a top 5 running back in the NFL. So, look, man, I'm anticipating a long night, to be honest with you. I'm anticipating that the 14-point spread is correct, and it could go over that.
Look, I'm speaking for myself, and then you can comment here or there, but I'm not shocked that Dennis Allen got fired. I'm not shocked that the Saints aren't great. I'm not shocked that Derek Carr got hurt. I'm pretty shocked the Saints have been atrocious as far as run defense goes. That's not something that was on my radar in August. How surprising has that been for you?
Very. Yeah, it wasn't on my radar either, man. I mean, just to see how many yards are just being piled up, week after week after week. I thought they did a good job last week with Jaden Daniels. I mean, he had the 66 yards. I mean, that one run was like his big run. But the problem is like sometimes those smalls turns into bigs, and those small, like, not being able to get a quarterback down turns into a big play down the field with the arm. And that's the type of thing that worries me with scrambling quarterbacks like Jaden and Jordan. But then, like the Josh Jacobs stuff, it worries me because of explosive plays. That's where the Saints defense has had issues in terms of running backs, is giving up explosive plays. We saw it with Saquon Barkley. We've seen it a few times throughout the season. Yeah, man, this is the one part of the defense going into the season I thought would be like the most reliable part of their defense would be the run defense, and it has certainly let them down for pretty much most of this season. And that's why they're in the situation that they're in defensively.
No question about it. Saints and Packers tonight on Monday Night Football. We'll be watching. Y'all have a great holiday, Sharief, and we'll talk next week.
All right, anytime, man.
Sharief Ishaq, WDSU down there in New Orleans. Yeah, I think tonight. I mean, we talked about this a little bit with Luke last week on Thursday. The problem in this matchup tonight is that the Packers really can run the ball. They are physical, and Jacobs is really good, and they get things rolling when they're really good on the ground. Sure, Jordan Love's played much better football over the past calendar year than he did before the Saints played there last year, but the run game is what powers them, and the Saints can't stop the run, and it's a huge, huge problem. It's not one that I saw cropping up this year. You look at that interior defense, and you see some veteran players in an emerging Brazil. You see Cam Jordan and Carl Granderson on the edges. Demario Davis is still in there. Pete Werner. I mean, they've got the makings of a group that should be able to stop the run, and they just simply cannot. And so I don't anticipate that starting again tonight. We'll see, but that's the biggest problem that I have when I look at this matchup for New Orleans and think, okay, how does this play out? It just, the running game, I think the Packers are going to run for 190 yards tonight. It's just, that is a big, big issue for New Orleans. So we'll talk about it a little bit more as we move forward. If you're looking for our Saints coverage, you can always find it over at YouTube, Hunt on Saints. That is now in podcast form for those that want to check that out. You can see wherever you find your sound. You can search Hunt on Saints. Ross Jackson will have story up tonight on LouisianaSports.net. For this one between the Saints and the Packers. So we got you covered on all angles there with New Orleans and Green Bay. When we come back, LSU got a win on the hardwood last night, plus the announcement that a player is no longer with the team. We'll talk about all that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. You can start your process there. You can honestly just about finish your process there at genesisofbatonrouge.com. because they make things so easy for you in this buying process. You never have to set foot on the lot if you don't want to. You can make a phone call over to Genesis of Baton Rouge, tell them the car that you'd like to test drive. One of their brand ambassadors will drive it to you. You can test drive it from work. You can test drive it at home. If you find that what you're looking for, they can do digital delivery. They've got e-contracts. They can make this thing as painless as possible as far as a car driving experience goes. And then once you make that purchase and you are a driver with a Genesis from Genesis of Baton Rouge, valet maintenance, complimentary maintenance for 3 years. But they'll come to you for all of that as well. You don't have time to go to the dealership and get that oil change, get those wiper blades taken care of, get your new air filter. I don't have time to do all that. Well, you don't have to take time out of your day. They'll do it for you. They'll bring a car to you. You can get on about your day. They'll take your vehicle over to Genesis Baton Rouge, Airline and Pico, and they'll take care of your valet. It's all fantastic stuff over at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Check them out online, genesisofbatonrouge.com, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
This holiday, BMW has reunited 3 members of the family at the BMW Road Home Sales event. The Agile X3, engineered for any adventure. The plug-in hybrid X5, commanding the streets with unmatched presence. And the all-electric i4, charging into the future with impeccable performance. Hurry in to find what powers your journey at the BMW Road Home Sales event. BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Visit Valley BMW Center today for attractive lease and finance offers.
Listen up, folks. Time could be running out to lock in a historic yield at Public.com. As of September 23rd, 2024, you can lock in a 6% or higher yield with a bond account. But here's the thing. The Federal Reserve just announced a big rate cut, and the plan is for more rate cuts this year and in 2025 as well. That's good news if you're looking to buy a home, but it might not be so good for the interest you earn on your cash. So, if you want to lock in a 6% or higher yield with a diversified portfolio of high yield and investment-grade bonds, you might want to act fast. The good news? It only takes a couple of minutes to sign up at Public.com. And once you lock in your yield, you can earn regular interest payments even as rates decline. Lock in a 6% or higher yield with a bond account at Public.com. But hurry, your yield is not locked in until you invest. Brought to you by Public Investing, member FINRA and SIPC. Yield to worst is not guaranteed. Not an investment recommendation. All investing involves risk. Visit Public.com/disclosures for more info.
This is The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
LSU beats New Orleans last night, 86-70, yesterday afternoon, I guess I should say, on the hardwood. It was a bit of a clunky start for LSU with 14 and a half minutes to go in the game. It was tied at 38, and this is a UNO team that's among the worst teams in the country. And then LSU kind of threw it into overdrive a little bit. Tigers outscored UNO 22-1 over the next 10 minutes of action and coasted to a 16-point win. Look, it's a Sunday afternoon. There's nobody in the PMAC. UNO is terrible. I don't expect LSU to come out firing on all cylinders, and they certainly didn't. But they outscored UNO 56-41 in the second half. Cam Carter had a double-double with 14 and 11. Corey Chest had a double-double with 12 and 10. That's the 6th game in a row for Corey Chest that he's gone to double-digit rebounds. Victorious Miller paced LSU in scoring with 17 points. He made 3 more threes. He had been in a little bit of a funk shooting the deep ball, but he made 4 in the game back on Tuesday, I think it was. And then he made 3 more in this game. So shooting it a little bit better. LSU as a whole did not shoot the ball well from the three-point line at all. Curtis Givens was 1 of 8. That was a low spot there for him. And everybody else was 6 of 21 for 3. That's 29%. LSU's got to shoot the ball better from 3 if they're going to beat some of these teams in the SEC. They're not talented enough and good enough on defense to smother teams and win a lot of games that way. They may win a couple here or there, but more often than not, when you play these really good teams in league play, you can't go out there and shoot 22% from 3. That's just, you're going to get beat most nights if you do that. So LSU needs to shoot it better. I did think that Curtis Givens did a really good job running the show. He had 5 more assists and no turnovers in this game. That, going back to the last game where he had 6 assists and 1 turnover, that's 11 assists and 1 turnover in the last 2 games. He, to me, looks like a completely different player than he did the first 3-4 weeks of the season. I talked about this a lot last week. He was a little timid for my liking, and that's to be expected with a freshman point guard. Like, I'm not expecting everyone to show up and look like Cam Thomas out there and score 28 a night right out of the chute. Like, there is an adjustment period for these young players, and Givens certainly was going through that. But it's obvious that Curtis Givens is their guy at backup point guard. Mike Williams was not even with the team yesterday. Matt McMahon said after the game that he feels like Mike Williams will return after Christmas. He was away from the team for personal reasons. He hasn't played since the Northwestern State game at the end of November. So Mike Williams has not played a minute in December at this point. So I don't know what you can expect from him moving forward with the program. Either way, Curtis Givens is going to be your number 2 guy at the point guard position, and I think he's playing better basketball than he did early in the season. That's a really good thing for LSU. I thought that LSU really bothered UNO with their length. You look at this layup metric. UNO was 11 of 25 at the rim. LSU blocked 8 shots in this game. Robert Millard blocked 3 of them. I do think that LSU is a pretty disruptive team defensively. That's not something that I really thought LSU would be at the beginning of the season, but it's probably a little bit of a side effect of Jalen Reed going down. As Reed goes down, you've got more minutes from Damian Collins and an increased role from Corey Chest, and those two guys are more disruptive at the rim than Jalen Reed is. So it stands to reason that LSU is a little bit better defensive team at the rim. Now, do I think that blocking a bunch of shots from UNO is immediately going to translate when you play Arkansas and Vanderbilt and Kentucky and Tennessee? We'll see. But undoubtedly, Damian Collins, Corey Chess, and even to this point, Robert Miller, who blocked 3 shots, they've got a lot of length and a lot of athleticism. And so that's going to have to be one of the hallmarks of LSU's team. LSU's going to have to win SEC games with ancillary stuff like that, with stuff in the margins like that. They're not going to be able to out-talent teams in the SEC. They're not going to have more pros than teams in the SEC. They're not going to be significantly older than most teams in the SEC because just about everyone is old. So you're going to have to use some of the things that you do have. Length is one of those things, and it showed in the game on Sunday afternoon. Let's see. There was one other thing. Oh, the LSU dominated the glass, which was good. They won it 50-37. They got 17 offensive rebounds. Corey Chest got 6 offensive rebounds. He is so good on the glass, and it is puzzling to me. And I may get a chance after a game to ask Matt McMahon about this because you never know. Like, I'm not certain what the backstory was, but I'm a little puzzled at why Corey Chest did not play last year. The decision was made early on to redshirt him, and it feels like he would have been ready to go in there and rebound the way that he is right now. I don't get the sense that he came in overly skinny. He's not like a guy that's going to handle the ball all that often, so that's not an adjustment he was going to have to make. I feel like he was probably ready to go in there and grab rebounds, and the decision was made to redshirt him. It may pay out great. He may be at LSU for 3 more years, and we'll see. I'm just again, I'm not like questioning the decision to do it. I just don't really understand why, and I'd like to learn more about that because he's been a revelation. He's the guy back in October that I said, look, I don't know if he's going to start and average 30 minutes a night. I don't know if he's never going to get off the bench. I don't know anything about Corey Chest other than that he redshirted and he was a 4-star recruit. Well, it turns out, and I think even before Jalen Reed got hurt, he was in the starting lineup. He was going to have a big role on this team because what he does is vital to what LSU is trying to do. And so he's excelled, again, in the game 2 games ago in just 20 minutes of action. He got 10 rebounds. He got 10 more in the game on Sunday. He's been fantastic. So, again, this is not a stretch of the season where you're going to learn a lot about LSU. These teams are bad. You've got a bad Stetson team, a bad UNO team, and then coming up on Sunday of next week, you'll play a bad Mississippi Valley State team that we have now oftentimes referred to as the bottom team in the net. They still are the bottom team in the net. But you got to stay healthy. You got to get some of these young guys playing time. They did with Givens and Miller, and both Millers, I guess I should say. Victorious led the team in scoring. Givens led the team in assists. Miller led the team in blocks. That's all encouraging stuff to see in December before things really get to the grindstone coming up in January with conference play. So I'm not going to sit here and try to sell you a bill of goods on how improved LSU is playing in these 3 games at the end. It's a lull in the schedule against bad teams where LSU is going to win the games comfortably. You're just going to kind of pick a spot here or there, something that stands out. And for me, I've kind of done that as well. Can't start 2 of 16 from 3 like LSU did before halftime. That's not going to win you many basketball games. But they've got some guys that can shoot. Jordan Sears can shoot. Cam Carter can shoot. Victorious Miller can shoot. Derek Fountain has shown an ability to go back out there and knock down some shots as well. They've got to shoot it a little bit better, but there is some that I like here. And you look up at the team that's 10-2 on the season with 1 more non-conference game to go. They'll be 11-2 going into league play at the first week of January, and we'll see whether or not they can stay afloat. That's kind of where we are. Beck, you got any hoops thoughts before we get out of here?
No, not really, man. That game pretty much went how you probably would have expected it. Another slow start which again we say they really cannot afford to do that in conference play. But hopefully, with more fans in the seats,
I'm willing to give them a pass on that.
They'll adjust, I think, to the levity of the game. So yeah, I mean, not much to take away from it.
I think there will be a decent crowd for the Vanderbilt game.
Yes,
it's a Saturday.
It's a Saturday, and I think it's afternoon.
It is afternoon. Yeah, that's the sweet spot. You get that Saturday, like 4:00 Saturday game.
Yep, you'll get all the old folks that maybe won't show up for an 8:00 tip. So I think it'll be pretty decent crowd. I mean, nothing else is happening that weekend. So
yeah, and we'll talk about this in the first week of January. But that is a huge game for us.
It is very big.
A huge game. I'd almost rather they open at Tennessee. Like, just because there's just no pressure on that game at all. Number one team in the country, you go up there, you lose by 20, like, who cares?
Yeah.
But you got to come out roaring in that game, so we'll see. That's 2 weeks away. But LSU back at it coming up on Sunday against Mississippi Valley State in the final non-conference game of the season. Our Monday show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com. It's a very, very special day, so we'll come back and we'll celebrate with that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Neil and Melissa have been rocking and rolling for 40 years down there at Boudreaux's Electrical. Their son Justin is kind of taking the reins, and he's handling business. Boudreaux's Electrical handles a lot of business. They're in the top 3% nationwide in Generac home standby generator sales. One of the things that's great about working with Boudreaux's Electrical is you can guarantee that you'll get a 7 to 10 year warranty on your home standby generator if you work with the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical. I'm going to give you the phone number here in a second, but keep this in mind. Like, I'm never going to tell you about some VIP package you got to pay for over at Boudreaux's Electrical to get quality service. It's just part of working with Boudreaux's Electrical. That's their promise to you. Phone number 985-397-1562, 985-397-1562, or the new location in Gonzales, 225-300-9389. Give yourself the peace of mind that the power is not going to go out at your home or your office. You can do that with a Generac home standby generator from the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical. Visit them online, boudreauxelectrical.com, boudreauxelectrical.com.
Whatever the adventure, there's a BMW engineered to take it on. The X3 delivers a striking design with agile performance. The 100% electric i4 packed with pure electric energy. Or the plug-in hybrid X5, an impressive, versatile SUV granting full control on every journey. Choose what powers your next adventure during the BMW Road Home Sales Event. BMW, the ultimate driving machine. Hurry in for exceptional offers through January 2nd. Visit BMWUSA.com for details.
Listen up, folks. Time could be running out to lock in a historic yield at Public.com. As of September 23rd, 2024, you can lock in a 6% or higher yield with a bond account. But here's the thing. The Federal Reserve just announced a big rate cut, and the plan is for more rate cuts this year and in 2025 as well. That's good news if you're looking to buy a home, but it might not be so good for the interest you earn on your cash. So, if you want to lock in a 6% or higher yield with a diversified portfolio of high yield and investment-grade bonds, you might want to act fast. The good news? It only takes a couple of minutes to sign up at Public.com. And once you lock in your yield, you can earn regular interest payments even as rates decline. Lock in a 6% or higher yield with a bond account at Public.com. But hurry, your yield is not locked in until you invest. Brought to you by Public Investing, member FINRA and SIPC. Yield to worst is not guaranteed. Not an investment recommendation. All investing involves risk. Visit Public.com/disclosures for more info.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Kramer, I got your message. I haven't celebrated Festivus in years. What is your interest?
Well, just tell me everything, huh?
Many Christmases ago, I went to buy a doll for my son. I reached for the last one they had, but so did another man. As I rained blows upon him, I realized there had to be another way.
What happened to the doll?
It was destroyed. But out of that...
It's a Festivus for the rest of us. December 23rd is Festivus, and we certainly have to celebrate that. For those that don't understand the reference, I apologize. I spend my entire life not understanding pop culture references. This one I do understand. It is, of course, from Seinfeld. It is Festivus, and there's only one way to begin things with Festivus, and that is with the airing of grievances.
All right, let's begin.
All right. I've got a lot of problems with you people. Okay? and I'm going to let you know about it. The first airing of grievances, the first grievance is directed at the Long Island Sharks. You're going, who the hell are the Long Island Sharks? I will tell you who the Long Island Sharks are. They're the 4 seed in the Chapel Hill Regional, and they had an 8-5 lead in the 9th inning against North Carolina, and they choked it away. And that probably cost LSU a shot to play in a Super Regional at home in the box, and probably would have gotten to Omaha, and maybe could have won the whole thing. I'm not blaming the game that LSU lost on Monday. I'm blaming Long Island for Friday night's failures. That is a grievance that I have. It is unacceptable. They're number 1 in my airing of grievances. Number 2, y'all know where this one's going. Larry Ellison and Jolan Zhu. You are a grievance of mine because you decided to take hundreds of billions of dollars and use the Michigan football program as a toy. Larry, this is your 5th wife, man. Just worry about something else, not football. Taking my quarterback? Unacceptable. Larry Ellison and Jolan Zhu. Jolan, who I guess cares about Michigan football now. Buying my quarterback, I don't like that. Mickey Loomis. I got some grievances with Mickey. I got a lot of grievances with Mickey. Dennis Allen's gone. Derek Carr's hurt. I can't really blame those guys. Mickey is the one who has orchestrated this mess and is going to probably have to be the one that's tasked with figuring out how to get out of it from awful aging roster and bad salary cap situations. Not good at all over on Airline Drive. Mickey Loomis, I got a lot of problems with how you're handling things. And basically, I'm just going to go down the street and go to the entire Pelicans organization. Nobody's doing a good job over there. The equipment managers are not doing a great job. The medical staff's not doing a great job. The coaching staff's not doing a great job. The players aren't doing a great job. There's only one team in the NBA that has a worse record than the New Orleans Pelicans. So I'm not even going to specify anybody right out in front. I'm just going to say that everybody is doing a bad job in the Pelicans organization. They're all on the grievances list. LSU football's Unity Council, their leadership group, I have a big problem with. And you all know this already, but you're wearing stupid uniforms every week. I've basically given up on these segments, but now we're airing all the grievances. It would be ridiculous for me to go through the last 365 days and not air grievances about what LSU wears any given Saturday because you wore stupid alternate uniforms more times than the traditional uniforms. That is unacceptable. I got a lot of problems with you people. Maryland Eastern Shore baseball. You probably forgot about this, but I got a lot of problems with those people. Maryland Eastern Shore baseball this season, 2024, with 0-48. I got a lot of problems with that. You got to win 1 of 48 baseball games. One time. And do they play a tough schedule? No. They didn't play anybody in Quadrant 1 or Quadrant 2, and they lost every game. 0-30 in the Northeast Conference. Maryland Eastern Shore. That is bad. And I'm not done with this part of the story because Arkansas Pine Bluff, your baseball team, had a worse RPI than Maryland Eastern Shore, and Maryland Eastern Shore went 0-48. Pine Bluff at least won 9 games this year, but their RPI was still worse than Maryland Eastern Shore. I don't know how the RPI works, but it feels like if one team wins 9 games and one team wins 0, they should have a better RPI. It just didn't work out at this point. And then one more grievance, which I haven't really talked about on the air. I've got a couple more, actually. The list is growing. Whoever decided to put breakdancing in the Olympics, that was ridiculous. That was the low point of the Olympics for me, is that ridiculous breakdancing saga. Awful, awful stuff. All right, I can't get off a list of grievances without going to Texas A&M's Yell Leaders. They were on the internet again this year. Texas game, it just didn't go well. I got a lot of problems with those people because it looks ridiculous. They got to either turn the cameras off in there or quit doing the yell practice. A&M's Yell Leaders, awful, awful stuff. And then, if we're sticking in the sports world here, the cop that arrested Scotty Scheffler in Louisville, come on. Trying to win the PGA Championship. He's number 1 player in the world. It's dark outside. It's raining. We're not arresting the number 1 player in the world because he damaged your pants, okay? A lot of problems with the cops in Louisville. They're dealing with Scheffler. And that basically is my list of grievances this year. Beck, how did you feel that was executed? Do you feel like that's a proper list, or did I miss something?
No, that was pretty good. Only thing for myself, the one thing I would add.
Please air grievances.
Yeah, I would say just traffic in Baton Rouge in general. We just have no answer for it. There's nothing we can do except sit in traffic. At 3 o'clock, I left Baton Rouge on Friday from this office at like 3:30 or 4 o'clock, and there was already traffic. It was already gridlock on the interstate. Like, can we at least like not have traffic until 5 o'clock when it's supposed to be there? Like, can I leave at 3:30 or 4 o'clock and not have to go through traffic?
I feel like I don't get in that much traffic. I think I know where to go and when not to go those places.
But sometimes you just have to go at a certain time, Hunt. Sometimes you have to go somewhere and be somewhere at 6 o'clock. We were going to my cousin's house in Denham Springs, and we were supposed to be there for 6 o'clock. We left at 5:15 and got there at 6:45.
Well,
it took us an hour.
That's very impolite to show up 45 minutes late.
Yeah, well, Hunt, I didn't think that leaving 45 minutes early was going to be a problem. No, I didn't bring a chocolate babka.
Bring a cinnamon babka?
No, we brought something called monkey bread. It was a dessert.
Well, it's kind of like babka.
Yeah, it kind of is. But yes, I'd rather not have to leave for somewhere that is literally 15 minutes away from my house and take an hour. That's just I would rather not have that. So that's my main grievance.
I got to drive a lot tomorrow, going to the North Shore and back. A little nervous about that.
Yeah,
then we got to drive a ton on Christmas Day. We got to go to Metairie, then we got to go to the North Shore again.
Yep, I drove to New Orleans on Friday, and there was a wreck on the interstate at Seguin, and so I got off the interstate in order to avoid the wreck and go down Highland to get back on the interstate. And about 500 other people had the same idea as me. So I sat at the turn signal at Highland and Burbank for about 30 minutes. So it didn't really help me out there. So good luck with that.
We got to do the feats of strength now.
Yeah, what are we going to do?
Got to get the pole out of the crawl space.
Where's the pole?
I find tinsel very distracting.
It is.
There are people that have no idea what we're talking. Do you have any idea what we're talking about, Cassie? Just absolutely not. Just completely.
Do you have any grievances, though, Cassie? You got to have some grievances. I mean, there has to be some.
I don't really have any.
There's no way.
Everything's perfect in Cassie's world.
Not
Just right.
perfect. I do agree with you. Like, I have to drive a lot over Christmas because we still have work like today and then the day after Christmas. And my family's in Metairie, so I have to like go back and forth between Metairie and stuff. So
Taylor has agreed to do my show on Thursday if I allow him, but I feel guilty because he's doing the morning show and AFR. But my wife doesn't want me to work on Thursday, so that's really the question. I have to decide by the time I leave here today if I'm coming into work on Thursday. I've got all this vacation that I've accrued that's going to be
just going to go, yeah.
And I just didn't take any days off this year. Very, very. That's a grievance of me.
That's poor.
I got a lot of big problem with me for not taking enough time off this year. Awful performance by me from a vacation perspective. So there's your Festivus. A Festivus for the rest of us there. Yikes. That is quite loud.
Accident.
We got a lot to do in hour two. Glenn West is going to join us, talk some LSU. Still got to talk with Denton Day as well about the national college football scene in 35 minutes, plus more Saints and Packers discussion. Hope you're not working today, but if you are, we'll get you to the finish line. Come back after Sports Center. It is a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show presented by Gulf Coast Office Products.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Safety is a big, big deal in the bathroom, especially as folks age. It can be really, really hazardous spot. And David Duvall and his team often are able to go in and at least mitigate some of those risks. They can put in non-slip floors. They can put handrails around potentially slippery areas. They can do walk-in tubs that are more convenient and safer. They can do showers with benches in them as well. It's not always just about making things look pretty, although it will. There's a health aspect and a safety aspect to this that certainly should be considered. If there's someone in your life that's aging and you'd like to have some of these things put into that bathroom, call David Duvall and his team or go to the website onebathandclosets.com and get that free consultation. You can see the reviews from their satisfied customers. You can see the pictures of their fantastic work, and you can start the process with that free consultation at onebathandclosets.com, onebathandclosets.com.
Whatever the adventure, there's a BMW engineered to take it on. The X3 delivers a striking design with agile performance. The 100% electric i4 packed with pure electric energy. Or the plug-in hybrid X5, an impressive, versatile SUV granting full control on every journey. Choose what powers your next adventure during the BMW Road Home Sales Event. BMW, the ultimate driving machine. Hurry in for exceptional offers through January 2nd. Visit bmwusa.com for details.
Heads up, folks. Interest rates are falling. But as of September 23rd, 2024, you can still lock in a 6% or higher yield with a bond account at public.com. That's a pretty big deal, Because when rates drop, so can the interest you earn on your cash. A bond account allows you to lock in a 6% or higher yield with a diversified portfolio of high yield and investment grade corporate bonds. So while other people are watching their returns shrink, you can sit back with regular interest payments. But you might want to act fast because your yield is not locked in until you invest. The good news? It only takes a couple of minutes to sign up at public.com. Lock in a 6% or higher yield with a bond account. Only at public.com. Brought to you by Public Investing. Member FINRA and SIPC. Yield to worst is not guaranteed. Not an investment recommendation. All investing involves risk. Visit public.com/disclosures for more info.